It's Pastor Jason and Amber, and we are going to do something a little bit different today. So I'm glad you joined us for this. Today, I challenged Amber to allow me to ask her a question that relates back to James and the series that we're on. Mm-hmm. And some of the applications that we've been discussing actually have applied in your life here lately. And so I thought I would ask her a question. Now, she doesn't know what I'm going to ask her, so I'm going to catch her off guard a little bit. So y'all play along with us. But Amber, I want to ask you something. This week, we're going to be talking about money.
Okay.
Now, we've been talking about faith without works is dead.
Right.
We've been talking about the fact that when we surrender our life to Christ, it affects our tongue. Mm-hmm. We can't tame the tongue, but the Holy Spirit directs us, and when we trust in Him and surrender ourselves to Him, He controls the tongue. Mm-hmm. We talked about, how our relationship with Him, it continues to grow, and how important it is that we not get caught up in the worldly things,
right?
But we stay focused on God.
Mm-hmm.
This week, the way we're addressing this, or James did in chapter 5, is it affects the way that we use our money, the way we view money, the way we handle our money. Mm-hmm. And so I want to ask you a question. I know you've been going through some decisions that you've been having to make, and without getting into the details of those, I know you've had to consider several things in order to make those decisions.
Yes.
So going into that, how did you balance the idea of money and how money affects your decisions, quality of life, your time with family, your time in the Word, your time in study, your time being involved in the local church? Tell me how your decision making, how all of that came together during this time.
Oh man, it was it was a struggle for me. I've had this past week I've had new career opportunities come my way, and so I've really had to lean into the Lord, trust in the Lord, and not let money be the only thing that drives my decision. And that's a struggle because money is a very important topic. I mean, nobody sits there and thinks, well, I don't really have to worry about that. I mean, with the economy the way that it is, things are getting more expensive nowadays. I mean, money is an important aspect, but it's not everything. So I've really had to lean in and pray about, yes, this is more money, or yes, this is a lateral move for me, when changing careers. But Lord, I just want to be in a place where people can see you through me, where I can bring joy and happiness and excitement. And what I've really learned this year, just growing in my faith, is really, really sort of putting everything on Him and fully trusting in Him. And I have a hard time with that because I'm a control freak. I want to be in control. And He knows the ultimate outcome, whether it goes this way or that way. And now in my prayer, I'm like, God, if this is your will, let it be done. Not my will, but your will. And I want you to put me in the best place where I can serve you and be a light to whatever organization I'm a part of. And so money is important, I will say that, but it's certainly not everything. Mental health is important. Being happy with what you're doing is important. So that's kind of how I've had several conversations with Drew about it, my husband, and we've really had to assess it at all different angles. But to say money is not important would be a lie, but it's not everything, if that makes sense.
Right. It's a resource that God provides for us.
Yes.
And when He provides that, we have to always put it in perspective. We're going to be talking about this more Sunday, but it's so important that we see money as not our goal.
Right.
But it is a resource that God provides for us to be able to use to glorify Him. And so how we use that, how we think about even chasing after money, we need to be very careful to make sure that that's not our goal.
Right.
But instead that we're seeking to better ourselves as human beings, of course, because what it does is it opens up opportunities for us to use those resources for the glory of God.
Right.
But also it opens up opportunity for us to be able to share with more people and to have a different context or a different ethos around us to share the gospel with. And so it's very important that we always seek God and not always put our eggs in one basket, but instead look at the big picture and say, God, how do you want to be glorified in this situation?
Absolutely.
It's amazing. He knows what He's doing.
He does. And it was a struggle for me because with this new opportunity, I felt a sense of greed. Am I just taking it because of the money? And
did you?
No,
Okay.
I didn't. No. But I mean,
checks and balances.
But it is important. Yes. To not say it's not important. I mean, I would be lying to you right here. So it is important. I had to talk to my husband, and he said the same thing along the lines of, if you're happy, if your mental health is in a good place, if you enjoy what you're doing, the money is great, and we certainly can use that, additional funds to glorify God, like you said. Yeah. So, it's been a stressful week. I'm not gonna lie. I've been sweating a little bit, but it's something that we all have to go through in life. We're gonna reach a certain point where you have to go one way or another, and really doing that on your own has been a struggle. I worry about it, and I overly worry about it and stress about it. And here lately, I've just been like, God, just, this is on you. This is all on you, and I'm going to fully trust whichever opportunity you open for me. And I've never really looked at it like that before. So this time, I feel like it was a little less stressful. Now, I did worry about it, but...
Well, when your mind and your heart's in the right place, it opens the door for these experiences to be pleasant.
Yes.
And so it's not like looking at it as in this has to happen, so I have to force this.
Right.
But instead, I'm opening the doors, or God's opening the doors. I'm stepping through. I'm letting Him lead me through which door He wants me to go through, and asking Him to close those that aren't the right ones.
Right.
And as you do that, you start finding freedom in it. And so I thank you for sharing your experience through this. And I know over the last few weeks we've been sharing a little bit in James how it applies to your situation. Even before we video each week, we've had those discussions.
And isn't it crazy how, perfect timing.
Yes.
Like the situation that I'm going through, God knows what I'm going through, and yet He reveals this to me. And I'm like, I see what you're doing.
And we find this happens on a regular basis with people in our church. And so if you're a member of the church and you're involved, we want to encourage you, continue to be faithful. If you don't have a church home, we want to encourage you to meet with us. We gather each week on Sundays at 8:30 and also at 10:45. But in between that, we have Sunday school groups that meet at 9:45. The first service at 8:30 is usually a traditional. When I say traditional, we're talking about mostly hymn-driven. The second service at 10:45 is a more contemporary, a more modern service. And so if you have a preference, you have a choice. And so we want to invite you to be a part of that, and we look forward to having you.